For the last couple of years, Les Snead and the Rams have had a simple philosophy when it came to drafting. We're going to draft for the future. We're going to play for right now. Usually that means giving them draft picks, our first round picks. You can have them. We're trying to win right now and maximize our future. And shit, they got a Super Bowl. They were in the conference championship this past season. So looks like it's some good philosophy. But last night, they went a different direction. They kept their 13th overall pick. So who would they draft? They draft Ty Simpson. And this pick doesn't look good at all. This shit actually sucks. And what makes it bad is the fact that when you look at every single presser that has come out since this pick has happened, it looks like Sean McVay and the front office aren't even on the same page. He didn't even like Ty Simpson as a prospect, wasn't really that intrigued with him. So the fact that the Rams sat up here and still drafted him with their 13th overall pick when there were a multitude of other people who were on the board is kind of crazy to me. It's kind of insane to me, especially when you give in, look at Ty Simpson as a prospect. As a prospect, Ty Simpson is a guy who he has the potential. He has some good throwing mechanics, he has a decent arm. But when it comes to processing, when it comes to decision making, and when it comes to dealing with legitimate pressure, he struggles. He be out there shaking ass in the playoffs when they played up against, I forgot who they played up against. He didn't look good. And he had a very up and down season. A big reason why they lost earlier in the season with the USF was because, no, it wasn't USF, whoever it was, it's because Ty Simpson did not look good. Now I get it. Matthew Stafford is going to need a replacement soon. He's getting old, and I feel like every single offseason we're talking about some type of injury he has, whether it be his back, whether it be his arm. There is something that's always fucking wrong with Matthew Stafford, so clock's ticking on him. And the Rams want to win another Super Bowl, but we're starting to hear some things about Matthew Stafford and his window closing and all this different type of shit. So it makes sense to get a quarterback. This just ain't the draft I really would have gotten a quarterback in. This is not the draft, and for damn sure wouldn't have gotten Ty Simpson at 13. If you look at who was drafted after him, who would have been better for the Rams, I would have looked at receivers. I would have looked at some receivers or a tight end. You had Kenyon Sadiq was still on the board, Mekhi Lemon was still on the board, Casey Concepcion was still on the board. There were Omar Cooper Jr., there are a multitude of things that, honestly and truthfully, I feel like the Rams could have done instead of getting Ty Simpson, and it doesn't make it any. It'd be different. It'd be different if you got Ty Simpson, and this is the guy who Sean McVay wanted, who everybody in that front office wanted, but by all accounts, and I mean by every single account, nobody wanted this dude. No, Sean McVay didn't want him. This is a bad look. You never want to draft someone if your head coach and the front office is on the same page, and that's exactly what happened. Now, with that being said, if anybody can get some shit and develop Ty Simpson, it is Sean McVay. Sean McVay is one of the most prolific minds throughout the entire NFL, so he can get some shit out that nigga. But I don't like this. I think out of all of these picks, that is probably one of the worst picks in the draft. And it's crazy because the pick before it was Caden Proctor, who was also a pretty bad goddamn draft pick that I didn't like at all. God damn it, let's just get into it. The Miami Dolphins, they have the 11th pick. The Cowboys will move up. They see that they have a chance to get their guy, so they trade up. They get Caleb Downs. Oh my goodness.
Pow.
Oh! I hate giving Jerry Jones credit. I really do hate giving him credit, but getting a guy like Caleb Downs on that defense, how the fuck he fell this far, I don't even know. David Bailey, cool. Arvell Reese, cool. Mansour Delane, cool. Sonny Styles, how does he fall all the way to 11? I have no idea. He is, for my money, the best prospect in this entire draft, and he fell to 11 to the Dallas Cowboys, a team that needed safety help, by the way. They had one of the worst DB rooms, and it doesn't get much better than Caleb Downs. Somebody who can cover at a high level. He can tackle at a high level. He's good at reading defenses. He is very versatile. He can play strong safety, free safety, slot. He moved around a lot when he was at Alabama and Ohio State. The Cowboys got an absolute steal. And the Miami Dolphins, who would you take? maybe you get a weapon, you know, maybe you get offensive lineman, maybe you get somebody on the defense. You get Caden Proctor. This was not a good draft if you were an Alabama prospect, because Caden Proctor is a guy who, in my opinion, he's a tackle. Not really that good of a tackle. His foot speed is too slow. He doesn't really have that good of a hips. And he's big as hell. Like, what, he is 6'6", 352, but he's very, like, raw. Like, outside of his power and his size, he does not offer a lot of high-value upside at that tackle position. He gets beat by first steps, and unless he's like set, like unless he's like ready and expecting the defensive lineman to come to him, he's fucking grits. It's over with for him, and that's something he's going to struggle with. And I don't believe getting him on the Dolphins was the best move. I don't see why Miami picked Caden Proctor. There were so many better options on the board, in my opinion, just to fit Miami. If you're in a position if you are Miami Dolphins and you're in a position in the draft, you just want to draft the best player available. You had no reason to trade that pick. You want to draft the best player available. And I mean, bro, like Caden Proctor, my nigga.
You kidding me?
That shit's a bad look. But when it comes to the rest of these picks, it's about what you would expect. Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 to the Raiders. I'm not the biggest Fernando Mendoza guy, but he's going to fit exactly what the Raiders need. They have Clint Kubiak. They have offensive coordinator. They have Ashton Genty. He is going to be very comfortable with the Raiders, and he's probably, given the circumstances and the situation and how much they're going to build and feed into him and his development, Fernando Mendoza, he's probably going to be nice. He has a lot of great upside. He doesn't offer you anything that's like game-changing, but his accuracy, his ability to hold steady, his composure, and how like precise he is being in the pocket and having that dog to be like, all right, yeah, I'm just going to run the fucking ball and, get some quick yards. That's something that you want from a quarterback. And he's definitely a guy who's capable of being on a Super Bowl led team, at least from what I saw so far. But shit, only time can tell. David Bailey goes to the Jets. I saw some people really like talking about this. I have no issue with it. When I watched him in that game versus Oregon, I believe, and really all year, everybody in the Texas Tech defense was fucking nice as hell, apparently. But David Bailey was definitely another guy who was killing. I didn't have an issue with that. Then you have some offensive players who come off the board. Jeremiah Love goes to the Cardinals. Carnell Tate goes to the Titans. Jeremiah Love, first of all, I don't think it's a bad pick. Jeremiah Love, despite the season that he had, is for my money one of the best prospects in this draft class. And running back value does matter. And shit, the Cardinals, they're in a turnaround period. They're trying to just find something that's going to stick. They're trying to find somebody who can lead them into this next era, and hopefully Jeremiah Love can do that. When it comes to the Titans, they get Carnell Tate. I personally would have loved to see them get somebody on the offensive line. I am a trench guy. I believe if you get the trenches right, everything else becomes that much easier. And getting the Carnell Tate is good, though. Like, I think Carnell Tate was the best receiver in this class, although they tried to hype up Jordan Tyson and all these guys. I think Carnell Tate is a legit wide receiver. And him with Cam Ward, they're going to make fireworks in Tennessee. But personally, get your trenches right, protect your quarterback. But I think they actually, if I'm not mistaken, I am mistaken. I am mistaken. Let me shut my bitch ass up. Anyways, so yeah, after that, you get Arvell Reese. Good little pick for the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau's out the door. Mansour Delane for the Chiefs. If I were the Chiefs, I would have got Caleb Downs if you're going to go defense and you're going to go cornerback. But Mansour Delane, for his worth, 5'11", 197, one of the best cornerbacks in this draft. In the draft that's really loaded when it comes to cornerbacks, he is one of the best, if not the best cornerback in the draft. Great hips, great footwork. He stays on his receivers. He's really good at processing. The Chiefs definitely got to steal, which is something they needed, especially after they traded away. Damn, why am I forgetting bro's name? But bro, to the Rams. So yeah, the Chiefs, you get Mansour Delane. The Washington Commanders get Sonny Styles. And Commanders fans, you guys are going to be fucking mind blown when you see Sonny Styles out there versus the bullshit that you've been seeing for Bobby Wagner over the past couple of years. You genuinely might think you're watching Superman out there. Sonny Styles is like night and day. He's young. He has a lot of juice. But just Bobby Wagner, to his credit, was good at reading defenses. Like, it was clear he still was able to process defense, make reads, go downhill. He was just slow because he was old. But nigga, Sonny Styles, man, hello. Next couple of picks, Jordan Tyson goes to the Saints. A nice weapon for Tyler Shuck, a guy who got a lot of hype post draft. As we get close to the draft, he seemed to be the guy that just rose a lot. He's cool. I would just like to see what he would do. Spencer Fano for the Cleveland Browns. They traded that pick to the Chiefs, and a lot of people are talking about this trade. I don't know all the details, and I don't have them in front of me, but I don't really see big issue with the trade. Maybe if you're in a position with a team like the Browns, best player available, you really had no reason to trade the pick. Maybe go get a Caleb Downs or somebody, but hey, you still got an offensive lineman and you got some value for it. Cool. The Giants, after going defense, they go offense and get Francis Mauigoa from Miami, and a lot of people were saying they should have gotten Caleb Downs or somebody. Listen, you have a quarterback like Jackson Dart, and you have Cam Skydable in the backfield. The biggest thing, like I said, I'm a trench baby. Like, I really believe if you get your trenches, everything else becomes easier. You get a offensive tackle who is going to be more than capable of protecting your quarterback. That is the way to do it. Everything else becomes easier. You have the receivers with Malik Neighbors. Hopefully he's able to recover and get right soon. You have the running back in Cam Skydable. You have the weapons, and you have the personnel to be able to build to where you don't have to worry about skill as much, and you already went defense. So yes, get that man Jackson Dart offensive lineman so he don't get so many fucking concussions. I already talked about the Cowboys and Cannon Proctor. I really don't have much to say about the next couple of picks. I don't want to fuck up your name, but bro who went to the Ravens get some offensive line help for Lamar. It's totally cool. Prototypical guard. He's going to be very physical. That Ravens team looks like it's probably going to be physical in the trenches this year. Good guy for it. Ruben Bain to the Buccaneers. If you ask me, he was probably my most impressive edge rusher, even though I don't think he's better than the likes of a David Bailey. I think he's giving Arva Reese a run for his money, but then you have the arm issues and shit like that. Don't give a fuck about that. Root to the Qs. Ruben Bain is going to be like that for Tampa Bay. He's going to be like that. He's just such a pleasure to watch. Kenyon Sadiq to the Jets. I don't really understand the Jets' philosophy. I don't know if they were going who they deemed their best player available or what they were doing, but Kenyon Sadiq is a guy who my Panthers were looking at, and a lot of people want us to draft. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. He was cool. He definitely physically looks like a beast, but his talent, if you're going to draft a tight end in the first round, it has to be what we thought Kyle Pitts was going to be, or a Brock Bowers level talent. And he's just not that to me. Blake Miller, Caleb Banks, shout out Florida. But the pick I really want to talk about is Morgan Freeling to Georgia. Now, as a Panthers fan, I have to talk about the Panthers. I have to talk about the Panthers because this is not a pick that I think a lot of people thought that we were going to make. He's 6'7", 315 pounds. He's an offensive tackle, and with Taylor Moton going out, Ikem Okwonu dealing with injuries, and he's probably going to be out this season as well. We desperately needed to get some offensive line help, because if we didn't, first of all, offensive line, bro, we need, especially at tackle, that is something that we need. Monroe Freeling gives us the ability, with how great he is as a right tackle, his length, all of these different things. He's going to provide a lot of value and kind of wipe this issue out early to where it's really not even going to be an issue in the future because we took care of it now. Now, he only started 1 year from what I'm seeing, but I really like his technique. I really like his quickness. I really like kind of nasty streak he kind of has, but I think that his ceiling is very high. He's going to be a very quality NFL starter, and I think he's a good guy to have protect Bryce Young. If you can get your offensive line right and get a quality NFL starter on the offensive line, you have one. We already have Tep. We already have T-Mac. We already have God damn it. What's our Jalen Coker? We have pieces. And I think, there are so many skill positions nowadays to where you don't have to rush and try to draft a receiver like a KC or a Mekhi Lemon. I think you're really good. And I really like the fact we got Monroe Freeling. Keep pounding. I really enjoyed the pick. I would have liked for us to trade back and just get more capital later on in the draft, because believe you can see that this is a pretty stacked O-line, not O-line, but this is a pretty rich O-line draft. But hey, if you're gonna keep that 19 pick, whether we tried to, we didn't, we weren't able to trade it back, go ahead and get offensive tackle. I like the pick. Now, another big pick that a lot of people are talking about is Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon, he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. He was on the phone with the Steelers as the Steelers are making the pick, but then Philadelphia comes in and swoops him up. And I think this all but confirms that A.J. Brown is gone. AJ Brown is it said June 1st. Yeah, that nigga's no longer going to be in the Eagles jersey. The Philadelphia Eagles, no Brown.
I ate noodles with no packet.
I think that he's gone. He's not going to be on the Eagles anymore when it comes June 1st, whether he goes to the Patriots or wherever he goes. And I'm not mad at the pick, honestly. I think the Philadelphia Eagles can acquire talent, and they have the ability to acquire talent. And, you know, they have a good eye for who is good. But how are you going to develop him on the offense that has been very inconsistent over the past 3 years? I know you got a Super Bowl and everything, but, hey, that was the season before this one. Right now, y'all have questions at your quarterback position, your offensive line, your defense. All of the things that were so strong, which is crazy because the offensive line and defense was like the main thing about the Eagles 2-3 years ago. Now you're kind of questioning everything about the Eagles team. So I'm just curious as to how they're going to incorporate Mekhi Lemon into this offense. Good thing is you have Devontae Smith, and he's more than capable of coming in here and serving as a X wide receiver, being the primary target for Jalen Hurts. But very curious to see how that goes. I'm surprised that they didn't take a Casey Concepcion just to get some explosiveness, but hey, is what it is. The rest, Max to the Steelers, Akeem to the Chargers. It's cool. Malachi Lawrence goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys seems like they got another guy with Malachi Lawrence making a trade with Philadelphia. The Browns, they're going in on offense. You get Casey Concepcion. They're giving Shadur some weapons, and something. Presuming that that's who they want to build around. So I would love to see what the Browns are doing because Casey Concepcion, you get him an offensive lineman. Very, very cool. Cleveland, we'll just have to see how y'all execute and go from there. Yeah, the Bears, they get Dylan Thieneman, who this is a guy who I was looking at the Panthers probably drafting just because of how fast he is, how much he can strike shit. He was a 3-year starter I don't know if he was at Oregon the whole time, but he was a 3-year starter. And he would have provided a lot of value that we desperately need in our secondary. The Bears got him. He can do all that shit for them. And I think he is kind of one of the prototypes in terms of what we look for those safeties. He is very versatile. He can play multiple positions, whether they be nickel, whether they be strong, whether they be free. He has the ability to move around, and he's really great when it comes to being a nickel and a robber. So great pick by the Bears. The rest of these picks, Rutledge goes to Houston. They are finally getting C.J. Stroud some offensive line help after him just fucking looking like a shell of himself last year. They got him some help finally, which is what they desperately needed. Rest of these picks, they're cool. Chris Johnson, Miami, they get a corner. I really don't know what Miami's goal was in this draft. It is what it is. Caleb Lomu goes to the Patriots. Makes sense. We're going to build into our offensive line. We have an MVP caliber quarterback on our team. Peter Woods from Clemson. He's a guy who I know at the start of the season, a lot of people had him in top 10 conversations. He still was first round, not top 10. But I still think that he is very young. He's a very big guy. He's very strong, and he has one of the higher ceilings in this class. He has one of the higher ceilings in this class in this first round. I don't know if he gets there. When it comes to him just solo rushing, him playing at D tackle, he kind of starts to struggle against centers and guards and guys who are more so can size up with him. We'll just have to see. The Chiefs, he has Chris Jones next to him. But yeah, the Jets get Omar Cooper Jr. I don't really know what their goal is. The Titans, they go defense. And Jadarian Price him to the Seahawks. I don't know why they get him at the end of the first round. I don't understand this pick. I know you want to replace Kenneth Walker III, but Jadarian Price is not the way to do it, in my opinion. But hey, This is this. That was the first round. Round 2 and 3 are today, and we get the rest of this shit on Saturday. So we'll just see how that happens, and I'll see y'all later. Let me know y'all thoughts down in the comments. Who did your team draft? Are you content with who they drafted, or you would rather them go somewhere else? Let me know all of that down below. But that's all I got. Until next time, peace.